Hello, today I'll be making some Mexican tamales and going over some of the history. The three different kinds I'll be making today are tamales rojo, verde, and rajas. Tamales originate from Central Americans like Mayans and Aztecs and are still popular in many Latino countries to this day. They date back about 9,000 years and recipes have changed and evolved, but at their core, they contain three main aspects. The first is masa, a type of corn dough. The second is filling that can vary recipe to recipe, and the third is an encasing, oftentimes corn husk or banana leaf. The type I'll be making today will use corn husk. The masa used for tamales is made from lime-treated corn, which is then ground up into dough. Treating the corn with an alkaline substance like lime is beneficial as it 1. Loosens the corn for the grinding, 2. Brings out nutrients like vitamin B, and 3. Gives it a more pleasant taste overall. This process is called nixtamalization and is the reason why corn dough can be used in a lot of Latinos' diets. Animal fat or lard is now typically added as well since having been introduced by Europeans. Typical fillings are made up of pork and beef, which were also introduced by Europeans. Before then, other meats like deer, fish, rabbits, frogs, or turkey were used instead. You want your pieces of meat not too big but not crazy shredded either. Here I'm using pork and chicken breast, which I cooked with salt and garlic. You will also want to let your corn husk soak for 30 minutes or more, making forming the tamale easier. Not all fillings are savory or even contain meat. There are sweet tamales too, which are often colored pink and contain pineapple or raisins. To start making our tamales, we'll start with the tamal verdes filling, which is made up from chicken breast, tomatillos, serrano peppers, onions, and garlic. To begin making, you will remove the stems from the serrano peppers and add them along with the tomatillos to a pot with water and set to simmer. Once done and cooked for a bit, you will then pour them into a blender with some onion, garlic, and some seasoning. Once all blended, you will get another pot, add some oil, and grill some onions and garlic. Once they are nice and brown, you will pour the blended ingredients into the pot and wait for it to boil. Once boiling, you can now add in your chicken and stir, and now you have your first filling. Now for the tamal rojo's filling, you will need guajillo peppers. Start off by letting them grill for a bit, and once roasted, you will want to let them cool off and then begin getting out some of the seeds and inner stem. These tamales are typically not supposed to be spicy, so removing everything except the pepper skins is necessary. After the roasting and removing process, you will then add them to a pot of water and let simmer and cook for a bit. Once done, you will add them along with some garlic, onion, and seasoning to a blender. Now similarly to the tamal verde, get another pot, repeat the grilling of the onion and garlic, and once all done, add your blended ingredients and let them strain into the pot. This helps with the texture at the end. You will then bring it to a boil, and once boiling, you can now add your pork and cook for a bit, and just like that, your second filling done. For the final filling for the tamal de rajas y queso, you will be using queso fresco, tomatoes, jalapenos, onions, and garlic. Rajas refers to the strips of jalapenos which will be prevalent in the filling, and queso refers to the cheese, which is typically Oaxaca cheese. In a pot, add onions and garlic till brown and add your tomatoes. Let these cook for a bit, then add your jalapenos and stir. After a bit more time on low heat, add some seasoning. Here I've been using chicken bouillon and then mix. After a while, the tomatoes will become less solid and the right consistency, ready for our tamales. And this doesn't need to be blended. For the next part, we will now need our masa and corn husk. After being soaked in water, we can now begin to wash our husk. Many come with brown strands from the corn, so you will need to wash them off to get off all the tiny and big strands. Once they are washed, you can begin adding the masa and filling. Grab a spoonful of masa and smear against the husk, being careful not to break it. The masa will rise and expand, so leave space for that. And I like to cut a little crease into the smeared masa to let the filling sit nicely. Fold them, leaving the wider end exposed. Place on rack and repeat. Once all done, you can begin placing them into a pot. The pots used to cook these have a plate with holes that sit above the bottom of the pot, where you can then fill with water, which you will boil and steam and cook your tamales. After steaming for about an hour, your masa should now be firm and the tamales will now be hot and ready to eat. In the past, tamales have had a more practical use, being sent out with hunters or travelers because of the portable structure that cooking leaves them in. They were even decorated for festivals, using flowers or seeds to make complex designs. Now they are still made for large celebrations, but not typically decorated.
They're a bit more time consuming, so celebrations like weddings, quinces, Christmas, and Dia de los Muertos are where you'll typically find them. I grew up with these delicious meals around holidays, and I hope seeing this has inspired you to try some yourself. Whatever variety or recipe you choose from, because there really is plenty.